for plans, for 200 years.
Go, go, go.
Look at all that money!
10 ordinary people.
Come on, guys. Move, move.
One extraordinary heist.
Right, can I get on with burying 25 grand, please?
If they can steal the cash
I think this is a good hiding place.
and evade a crack team of detectives,
They're a lying little viper.
it's theirs to keep.
They're not going to break me.
It just never stops. It never stops.
If we catch them red-handed, cigars and croissants for us.
You're watching Sky News at 6. I'm Gillian Joseph. The top stories. US police find mail bombs addressed to Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, as well as to a building in New York. They call it an act of terror. A heinous crime. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman breaks his silence on the murder of a journalist that he's been implicated in. Theresa May confronts her critics. The Prime Minister is facing backbench MPs on the 1922 committee. And Meghan makes an early exit from a busy royal visit. The palace cites crowd management issues. We start the news at 6 with the interception of a number of suspected mail bombs by US Secret Services. At least 5 potentially explosive devices have been sent to prominent US politicians, including former President Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. In the last few minutes, New York Mayor Bill de Blasio said security has been increased in the city and called the attempted attacks an act of terror.
What we saw here today was an effort to terrorize. This clearly is an act of terror, attempting to undermine our free press and leaders of this country through acts of violence. I want to make very clear that the people of New York City will not be intimidated, that we're going to go about our lives undeterred, because the very concept of terrorism is to change us, and we will not allow that to happen.
And former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton thanked the Secret Services and called for unity.
But it is a troubling time, isn't it? And it's a time of deep divisions, and we have to do everything we can to bring our country together.
Well, 5 suspicious packages have been identified and intercepted. One has been removed from CNN's offices in New York, and just north of the city is the Chapaka home of Hillary Clinton. Nearby lies the Bedford home of Democrat donor George Soros, who was targeted earlier this week. Further south in Washington, D.C., a bomb was also discovered outside Obama's Kalorama home. And in Sunrise, Florida, police are investigating a suspicious package near the offices of Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Well, Sky's Greg Milam has the latest. Actually, we're going to take you straight back to New York and this news conference taking place on those suspicious packages.
Is very, very important. And for elected leaders who in many ways set the tone, it is especially important.
Hold on. Right there.
Can you describe what the device looks like that was found?
John?
Sure. Brian Parman from FBI JTTF. So far, the devices have been what appear to be pipe bombs.
If I could, I'd like to make a statement. I know that a lot of the public right now is scared and concerned, and there's a lot of confusion surrounding this. I want to assure you that the reason we are here, because the totality of the federal, state, and local authorities will investigate this thoroughly and follow every lead, and we will turn over every rock, we will turn every corner, and we will talk to everybody that we have to in order to mitigate this threat. The mission of the New York Joint Terrorism Task Force is to protect the American people and uphold the Constitution. The utilization of violence in order to further one's own political agenda is unacceptable to us, and we will not rest until we find this, stop these hazardous devices from being mailed, and bring the individual or individuals to justice. We have no better partners in the NYPD, the New York State Police, and the entirety of the Joint Terrorism Task Force. We will be on this until the day that we find this individual and bring him to justice. I'd like to thank NYPD and our partners on the task force, as well as the United States Secret Service, as well as the U.S. Capitol Police, as well as the Westchester County authorities for the cooperation and collaboration that we have thus far. With that, I'll turn it back over for questions, sir.
Hold on a second. As you've heard, there is a number of devices, and there's a pattern apparently to the number of devices. We wouldn't be at all surprised if more devices show up. A device has been sent to my office in Manhattan, which we were just informed about, and that device is also being handled. So again, this is a situation. A number of devices have been sent. They're being handled. We wouldn't be surprised if additional devices are sent. And the device that is been sent to my office has been identified and is being handled as we speak. Well, terrorism related, right? Terrorism is an attempt to strike terror, an attempt to strike fear. Obviously, these devices are an attempt to strike fear, hence terrorism. Are they domestic? Are they international? These are all questions that would have to be handled by the investigation. But yes, it was a terrorist attempt. It was a terrorist attack. And as you said, what's the intent? To strike fear. And when they strike fear, they win. That's when they are effective. Who controls that? We control that. We control that. This is not the first time we have been through this. We have been through this many, many times. Literally, as I mentioned before, it goes back 25 years to the first World Trade Center bombing. This is New York. It is part of who we are and part of our profile. So we refuse to be intimidated. We refuse to allow them to make us afraid of going through our daily lives. We have the best law enforcement agencies. We're all working together. We're all here, and we're going to go about our daily lives, enjoying this beautiful city and state, and we're not going to let them win, period. Kate, you had a question?
Two more questions, guys.
Commissioner, was anything written on the packages? What was the return address?
Yeah, Zolan, I'm not going to go into what exactly was on the package, okay? It was consistent with the other packaging, though. Listen, we have to go back to work, so we're going to give you updates throughout the day. I just want to remind everybody here and all New Yorkers, any tips, any leads, call 911 or 1-888-NYC-SAFE. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, well, that ends the news conference there being held in New York in response to those suspicious packages, devices that have been sent. We heard latterly there from New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who confirmed that a number of devices were sent and that there is a pattern. He also said that he wouldn't be surprised if more devices did actually show up, and he revealed for the first time that a device was sent to him, I suspect at his offices, but he did confirm that a device was sent to him. He also confirmed that it was a terrorist attack. He said that New Yorkers refused to be intimidated, and they refused to allow them, i.e. the terrorists, to make us afraid. We have the best law enforcement agencies and will continue to go about our daily lives. So the New York governor there, Andrew Cuomo, saying that New Yorkers refuse to be intimidated and they will continue about their daily business, but confirming that he himself was sent a device. We'll keep you updated on that story as it develops. In the meantime, the Prime Minister is at this moment attempting to unify Conservative backbenchers as the Brexit negotiations continue to tear her party and her premiership apart. Mrs May is addressing the 1922 Committee of Tory MPs just days after it was suggested by one of them that she bring her own noose. Well, let's speak to our political correspondent, our chief political correspondent, John Craig, who's in the Commons for us now. How's it going and when does her interrogation come to an end?
Oh, it hasn't come to an end yet. It may not have even started yet. She went in at 17:47, just before 10 to 6. She went into an absolutely packed Committee Room 14. Most of the Cabinet were there. Any backbenchers who turned up either on time or a bit late wouldn't have got in. In fact, Colonel Bob Stewart, the Bosnia war hero, was one of those who could not get in. The corridor is absolutely packed, as you can imagine, with journalists and also many of the PM's protection officers. When she walked into the room, there were indeed some cheers, but what was really noticeable that the whips were banging on the doors to make the desk banging sound louder. The first thing I detected up there is a really heavy presence of government whips, with Julian Smith, the chief whip, directing operations, whispering in colleagues' ears, telling them what to do, where to stand and so on. However, to anyone who thought perhaps the troublemakers, the Brexiteers, might stay away, they're in there. Nadine Dorries is there, Steve Baker's there, Andrew Bridgen's there, Jacob Rees-Mogg's there. It's all a question whether they get called to speak by Sir Graham Brady. Remember, there's all this talk of letters to Sir Graham. The inscrutable, discreet Sir Graham Brady is not revealing how many vote of confidence letters he's had. Well, he's chairing the meeting. The PM is speaking now. Not speaking terribly loudly, couldn't hear her from outside in the corridor, but the whips are doing their jobs to try and make it into a PR triumph, as Nadine Dorries was suggesting earlier on they would. We'll bring you news, obviously, when the meeting breaks up, but at the moment, packed in there. She's probably perspiring like she did at that news conference in Europe a few weeks ago. All this stage-managed cheering and support for her, though, does rather remind me of back in 2003 when Ian Duncan Smith got all those standing ovations at the Tory conference. Remember, a few weeks later, he was turfed out. Well, that could happen to Theresa May, but at the moment, she's in there setting out her record, setting out her Brexit strategy, but she will face some questions, and the troublemakers are in the room. We'll wait and see if they get called.
Yes, we shall see. She lives to fight another day. John, for the moment, thank you. The Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has spoken publicly for the very first time about the death of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Mr. Khashoggi died at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul at the beginning of the month. Turkish authorities say he was gruesomely murdered by security forces working for the Crown Prince. Today, the man known as MBS called the death a heinous crime and vowed to bring those responsible to justice.
مؤلم جدا لجميع السعوديين، خاصة لمواطن سعودي، واعتقد انه مؤلم لاي انسان موجود في العالم. هو حادث بشع غير مبرر تماما. اليوم المملكة العربية السعودية تقوم باتخاذ كل الاجراءات القانونية للتحقيق واكتمال التحقيقات.
We seem not to have a translation for that piece of audio for you at the moment. We'll work on that. Well, earlier, Theresa May announced that anyone involved in Jamal Khashoggi's killing will be barred from entering the UK, mirroring a visa ban by the United States.
No minister or official is attending the investment conference in Saudi Arabia, and my right honourable friend, the Home Secretary, is taking action against all suspects to prevent them entering the UK. And if these individuals currently have visas, those visas will be revoked today.
Let's take a look at some of the day's other news now for you. And two men who stole Rolex watches worth £500,000 from a hotel in Scotland have been sentenced. Richard Fleming and Liam Richardson carried hammers, a machete and a pistol as they raided the Gleneagles Hotel in Perthshire in June last year. They ran into the hotel and in less than 2 minutes smashed up display cabinets and made off with the watches, which still haven't been found. Fleming was given an 18-year sentence, while Richardson was given 1 year and 4 months. A team of more than 30 doctors have repaired the spinal cords of 2 babies with spina bifida while still inside their mother's womb. For the first time in the UK, the operation at London's University College Hospital reduces the baby's chances of more operations later in life.
I think it's a major step forward for parents because we're giving them the option of having surgery in the UK without them having to travel to other countries, which, when they're in a difficult situation, they've been diagnosed with a baby with a severe defect, they want to stay with their family and their close friends. So I think it's a really major step forward that we can do this in the UK.
8 French bulldog puppies have been stolen during an armed robbery at a house in Stretford in Greater Manchester last night. Police have released CCTV of the suspects, who were armed with a knife. They threatened a 26-year-old woman who is 6 months pregnant before stealing the puppies. Police say it's vital they're found, as they're only a day old and will not survive long without their mother. Sky sources say the House of Commons Commission has accepted new recommendations to tackle bullying and harassment in Westminster. It comes after a damning report in which Dame Laura Cox suggested the culture around Westminster has allowed such behaviour to flourish. Well, earlier today, Lisette Whitaker, who used to work in the Commons, told Sky News how one MP abused her, forcing her to leave.
I was assaulted, I can only say now, by an MP, and I did report it, but nothing was done. In fact, it was brushed under the carpet. I struggle. I've been diagnosed with PTSD. I have sleepless nights. Yeah, thanks. And you know, this is really scary to come and do this, but it's so important.
This is Sky News. Coming up, the Duchess of Sussex makes an early exit during a visit to a market in Fiji.
Good evening. Another busy night of Champions League football is underway, and right now Tottenham are in action against PSV Eindhoven in the Netherlands. They've yet to win so far in this competition. 25 minutes gone, it's still goalless there. Liverpool take on Red Star Belgrade at Anfield. Away fans are banned from attending the match after UEFA punished Red Star for pitch invasions and letting off fireworks in their Champions League qualifier against RB Salzburg in August. Gloucester's Danny Cipriani has been suspended for 3 weeks. He was sent off for a dangerous tackle on Munster's Rory Scannell during their European Champions Cup match at the weekend. A disciplinary committee upheld the red card decision. British tennis #1, Kyle Edmund, is into the second round of the Vienna Open. Edmund, in the red here, beat Argentina's Diego Schwartzman in straight sets, 6-3, 7-6. He's looking to win back-to-back tour titles after claiming the European Open on Sunday. We'll have Champions League goals from 10 o'clock. There's also build-up to a busy night of Football League action over on Sky Sports News right now.
Fetch? It's bigger than my head.
The Duchess of Sussex had to cut short a visit to a busy Fijian market because of security concerns over the crowds. The early exit overshadowed the latest stop in the Duke and Duchess's tour, during which she gave her first speech. Our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills is following the couple on their tour. She sent this report from Suva in Fiji.
Busy markets and royal visitors always make an interesting combination. You got the sense this was taking the Duchess well out of her comfort zone. She was only ever due to be here for 15 minutes, but her entourage cut it even shorter. After just 8 minutes, you can see her blonde female bodyguards scanning the crowds before making it clear to Meghan they had to go.
Guys, out. Just stay to the side, please.
The palace later said it was due to crowd management issues. It wasn't the royal encounter this friendly Fijian crowd had hoped for.
Tell me, Meghan was here. How are you feeling?
I'm disappointed because I never come to see her. It's just too many policemen. Fiji, it's not that way. They should give us a chance to see her, at least see her.
Only 15 minutes. It's no good. It's better take another time to come again, eh?
I expected to be a little more longer to see all the handicrafts of the woman in Fiji.
Even in the rush, the palace insists she did meet the women that she was due to talk to as she carried out her only solo engagements of this royal tour.
As an actress, we already knew quite a lot about how she felt about gender equality and racial equality, but this event is a big deal, for the first time showing us what Meghan hopes to achieve through her new royal role.
In true South Pacific style, she arrived at Suvas University with her husband. Women and education is an issue that she's talked about before, but in her first speech of this tour, she got personal about why it matters to her.
It was through scholarships, financial aid programs, and work study, where my earnings from a job on campus went directly towards my tuition, that I was able to attend university. And without question, it was worth every effort. Everyone should be afforded the opportunity to receive education that they want, but more importantly, the education that they have the right to receive.
At the High Commissioner's residence, Meghan got more hands-on. This kind of event is much more controlled, a chance for her to again team up with UN Women and promote organisations helping women in Fiji to make a living. The crowds were large, but for those of us who were there, they didn't seem to be aggressive in any way. With marrying into the monarchy comes a bigger profile and opportunities, but also challenges and constraints. It is still early days, and she is still learning how to navigate this new royal life. Rhiannon Mills, Sky News, in Suva in Fiji.
This is Sky News. Coming up, Ian King has news of a new multi-billion-pound investment into ultra-fast broadband.